This is Tim Freeman.
This is Big MF.
With the Inside BJJ EBI 10 Bantamweight Breakdown. EBI 10 was the first international EBI taking place live in Mexico City, featuring 16 of the best bantamweight submission-only fighters on the planet. Will returning bantamweight champion and 10th planet standout Gio Martinez, the only man to hold an EBI title outside of the Danaher Death Squad, be able to hold off the leg lock submission specialist Eddie Cummings? Will two-time EBI winner and featherweight champion Eddie Cummings submit his way to victory to unify all EBI titles under the Danaher Death Squad? Will Mexico City fan favorites Alex Eldonson and Arturo Rocha flip the script and bring Mexico their first EBI bantamweight title? Will the 41-year-old OG grappler and crucifix specialist Barrett Yoshida have what it takes to turn back the tide against up-and-comers like Jean-Jacques Machado Purple Belt, Eric Darce Knight Medina? Can 10th planet stand out and Gio Martinez protege Ricky Lully rise to the occasion and submit his way to the top? Will UK phenom Ashley Williams come back to revenge his EBI 7 loss and take home the $20,000 grand prize? This is EBI 10.
This EBI was the most action-packed EBI I've ever seen, with 15 submissions, a record-breaking 15 submissions, 12 submissions coming in regulation, 3 coming in overtime. Not one match was decided on time. All matches were decided on submissions.
The first match of the night features returning EBI Bantamweight champion and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt Gio Martinez taking on Atos Jiu-Jitsu submission specialist Christian Woodmansee. Unfortunately for Christian, Gio Martinez was on fire. After an initial scramble, Christian goes for a failed double leg attempt, to which Gio counters with a tight Darce choke. Christian has no answer, and he must tap with less than 30 seconds into the match.
Gio Martinez wasted no time on making a statement to the rest of the competitors. He came in and he laid a smackdown on Christian and tapped him out right away.
The second fight of the night featured Joey the Real Deal from Team Karan against Armory Jiu-Jitsu Marcelo Cohen. Marcelo fancies himself as a Kimura specialist, and he did not disappoint, jumping off to a classic closed guard approach, setting up very nice angles with his hip, shooting triangles and submission attempts, and eventually settling on the Kimura. He gets a nice Kimura sweep to mount, which Joey the Real Deal has no real answer for, and eventually he must tap or lose the arm. We see Marcelo Cohen winning by way of Kimura with 4 minutes and 8 seconds left on the time.
It should be no surprise to anyone that Marcelo wins by Kimura. There's not much more to say about this. He gets the Kimura sweep, he hits the Kimura, and the Real Deal goes home.
The next match featured Malaysia's Bruno Barbosa against Siraj Budram. This match started out very much like an IBJJF classic jiu-jitsu match, with both fighters unwilling to give up guard passes, fighting to retain position, almost like they were playing for points, but eventually it settles in and these guys start hunting submissions, ending up in a complex leg entanglement from which Bruno Barbosa hits a sick calf slicer. Budram has no answer and must tap, putting $5,000 in potential earnings for Bruno Barbosa and moving him on to the next bracket.
This match, Tim, was, like you said, a typical IBJJF match at the beginning. Both guys almost looking as if they were going for points. They end up in the leg entanglement. I didn't see it coming, but Bruno saw it coming, and he hit the sick calf slicer, and he punches his opponent's ticket.
The next fight of the night features 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu practitioner Ricky Lully, who defeated all opponents in the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu EBI qualifier. No small task against Aries Jiu-Jitsu's Javier Gomez. Right out of the gate, we see Ricky Lully go for what looks like an ankle pick takedown. Javier Gomez promptly sits down, and Lully starts hunting for perhaps an anaconda choke, but Javier's defense was on point. Both athletes end up in a tight half-guard battle. Eventually, Ricky Lully sits for the honey hole position and starts attacking the heel hook. Javier Gomez wisely brings his legs back, protects his knees, protects his feet, and defends the position successfully. Now, Lulay, with a little taste of blood, starts attacking. He eventually passes the guard, ends up back in a half guard, sits to what looks like to be some type of Russian cowboy. He doesn't quite have both legs straddling. He's got one leg straddling, and he's attempting what looks like to be maybe a knee bar attack. Javier Gomez is still defending, but eventually Lulay sits to the honey hole. The knee is deep. Javier Gomez tries to roll out, but to no avail. Lulay attacks the heel hook. The tension's tight. The announcers see it. The crowd sees it, and Javier has to tap, with Ricky Lulay advancing to the quarterfinals. Returning EBI featherweight champion and team member of the Danaher Death Squad, and arguably the most feared competitor in the bracket, Eddie Cummings is up next, taking on Alessandro Costa, and this match was a barn burner. Alessandro Costa attempted to jump into a flying mount. Yes, I said that, a flying mount. Eddie Cummings brought his knees up very nice and hit the outside heel hook. With 8 minutes and 58 seconds in the match, no one was surprised. Eddie Cummings moves on with a keen eye on the bantamweight title and $20,000.
You said it right, Tim. Going into this tournament, Eddie Cummings was the most feared man in that bracket, and he was the most feared because of his leg lock. Alexander makes a crucial mistake. I do not believe you should try to jump mount on Eddie Cummings being a leg lock master. He hits the leg lock, and he sends Alexandra home.
The next match featured one of the most exciting matchups of the night, with Mexico City fan favorite Alex Aldonson going up against UK standout Ashley Williams. Ashley Williams was looking to revenge his EBI 7 overtime loss to Rafael Dominguez, coming out like a madman with the submission attempts, but Alexis Aldonson was prepared, and he brought the Mexico City heat, defending all of Ashley Williams' submission attempts, throwing out submission attempts of his own. This match featured scrambles, escapes, transitions. It was a classic back and forth all the way down to the wire, with both athletes giving it their all. Alex Aldonson, drawing energy from the Mexico City crowd, survived a vicious body triangle attack from Ashley Williams, and eventually Alex Aldonson was able to hit a tight rear naked choke of his own in the top of the second during overtime, to which Ashley Williams had no answer. The crowd went wild. Alex Aldonson raised his hand in victory and moved on to the second round of the EBI 10 bantamweight bracket.
Tim, you said it right. This was a very exciting match, maybe even match of the night. Alex did not disappoint his people. He repped his country. He repped his gym. He dug down deep, and he pulled out the victory, and he sent Ashley Williams home.
In steps the 41-year-old grappling veteran Barrett Yoshida, taking on the young gun, purple belt from Jean-Jacques Machado, Eric Darce Knight Medina. Will we see a changing of the guard, with both athletes feeling each other out and no one able to procure a submission in regulation time? This match goes to overtime. Barrett Yoshida hits a tight rear naked choke, to which Eric Darce Knight Medina had no answer. Eric, on his attempt, almost nailed the arm lock, but Barrett is an OG. You just can't get him that easily. He escapes to move on to the second round of the EBI tournament.
Going into this match, Tim, Barrett Yoshida was probably the third most likely person to win EBI. Eric Medina had a heavy task in front of him, but he did not disappoint, giving it everything he had, defending with everything he had, going into overtime and almost getting the submission, but he came up just a little bit short. Eric's going to go home, and he's going to get better from this, but Barrett Yoshida punches Eric Medina's ticket, and he goes on to the next round.
The last match in the bracket featured Arturo Cadinez Rocha going up against Pablo Rogel, stepping in for the injured Barada Plata Rafael de Freitas, and this match did not disappoint. Rocha brought the fire right out of the gate, hitting a nice heel hook with 9 minutes and 27 seconds left, which Pablo Rogel had no answer to, and Cadinez banked $5,000 and moved on to the second round with his eye on the prize.
You know, Tim, Rocha came into this match. He was ready. He was hungry. Right away, he sells out on the heel hook, and he gets the job done, and he steps closer to the $20,000 prize.
The quarterfinals pick up right where the first round left off with returning bantamweight champion Gio Freakazoid Martinez taking on Marcelo Cohen, the Kimura specialist. Would Cohen be able to play close guard and hit a Kimura? Not this time. Gio came out like a man possessed. Marcelo tried to play a slight knee shield against Gio, but it did not work. Freakazoid hit a beautiful hip switch to outside heel hook at 1 minute and 30 seconds in regulation time, with Gio being declared the winner, knowing that he's moved one step closer to defending his bantamweight belt.
You know, Tim, Gio Martinez came out on fire, and he sent another message to the entire bracket. He didn't win with the truck. He didn't win with the vaporizer. He didn't win with mission control, but he took a move right out of the Danaher Death Squad book, and he wins via heel hook, and he takes a step closer to being the man that night and getting that $20,000 prize.
The next match in the quarterfinals features 10th Planet prodigy Ricky Lully, the man who submitted his way into the EBI tournament by defeating the best of the best at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, going up against Bruno Barbosa, who hit a beautiful calf slicer in the first round. Lully, with a wrestling base, hits a nice snap down into a seated guard from which Barbosa does not have an answer. We see Barbosa tuck his head low, which is something you can't do against a guy like Lully. Lully promptly snaps up the guillotine. Barbosa has no option. He must tap or go to sleep. Ricky Lully advances to the semifinals to take on his instructor and professor, Gio Freakazoid Martinez.
Ricky Lully comes out, and he does a fantastic job. He reps 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu to the fullest. This match wasn't even close for a kid who won his way into this. He submitted everybody to get into EBI, and he comes out on fire, and he lays a smackdown on Bruno Barbosa, and he gets the submission, he gets the guillotine, and he goes on to the next round to face his own sensei.
The next matchup featured Eddie the Wolverine Cummings going up against fan favorite Alex Aldonson. Listen, Eddie Cummings is an intimidating opponent, but Alex was not scared. He was game. He brought it. He came right at Eddie. Eddie always sits down and plays for the legs. Alex went right up to him. He even got into the leg entanglement, started to defend, tried to throw up a couple of his own, but Eddie Cummings is a master at the leg lock. Eddie was attacking Alex's right leg, and when Alex got preoccupied with the right leg, Eddie switches to the left and hits a tight inside heel hook. Alex, not wanting to go home in a wheelchair, taps, and Eddie Wolverine Cummings advances to the semifinals.
You know, Tim, Alex Aldonce may not have been scared, but he should have been. Unless you're a wizard, you do not choose to play the leg lock game with Eddie Cummings. He made a tactical mistake. He made a fatal error, that one that he should not have done, because Eddie Cummings hits the switch. He hits the leg lock, and he sends Alex Aldonce home, and he takes one step closer to being the man at EBI.
The last matchup in the quarterfinals features grappling veteran Barrett Yoshida against fan favorite Arturo Cadenas Rocha. Barrett shows why he's an OG. He stays cool, calm, collected. He never gets rattled, and he stays the course, hitting a nice no-gi Ezekiel choke. And despite being in front of his hometown fans, Arturo Rocha must tap, advancing Barrett Yoshida. This sets up a very nice semifinal featuring Gio Martinez against student Ricky Lully and Eddie Wolverine Cummings against the veteran Barrett Yoshida.
Barrett Yoshida comes out, and he did what he was supposed to do. He was dominant. He was good. He was a veteran. He was everything he needed to be. He hits the Ezekiel choke, and he sends Arturo Rocha home in front of his home crowd.
The first match in the semifinals, Gio Martinez takes on his student, Ricky Lully. I believe this is an EBI first. How difficult and complex is it if you're Gio to fight your student? And on the same token, how difficult is it if you're Ricky Lully to come up and fight your master? There was a certain look in Gio's eyes that told you he was not going to be denied. Gio pulls guard and sweeps to the top. He attacks Lully. Lully eventually causes a scramble, and he's able to take the top position. Gio takes a play right out of Marcelo Cohen's book and goes for the closed guard Kimura, eventually hitting the Kimura sweep and attacking that arm. Luli, in attempt to defend, straightens out his arm. Gio turns it into a head and arm. When Luli defends the head and arm, Gio turns it into the head and arm with an Ezekiel. Luli must tap, and Gio moves on to the finals to defend his bantamweight belt.
You know, Tim, this was a tough match for both guys, but you and I both know there is no way in hell you could go into a competition and tap out your sensei. It's just not going to happen. Even if you could get the submission, you're probably not going to hit it. Gio is just too good. He knows his student too well, and he hits the head and arm Ezekiel choke. No surprise there. I don't think anybody, including Ricky Luli, thought he was going to win that one.
The last semifinal matchup features Eddie Wolverine Cummings up against Barrett Yoshida. The crowd really in this situation was on Eddie Cummings' side. They wanted to see what everyone wanted to see. Gio Martinez against Eddie Cummings in the final, and Eddie Cummings did not disappoint. Listen, Barrett is a veteran. Barrett is an OG. Barrett knows what's up. He wasn't rattled. He wasn't nervous. He came in cool. He tried to play his game. He even played leg entanglement with Eddie, which is a crazy thing to do. Nobody wants to do that. And he paid the price. With 7 minutes and 48 seconds, Barrett Yoshida must tap to the inside heel hook. The crowd goes wild in anticipation of the finals. Gio Freakazoid Martinez against Eddie the Wolverine Cummings for the EBI 10 Bantamweight belt.
Like you said, Tim, the whole crowd was watching this match with great anticipation. We were wanting to see Eddie Cummings go into the final against Gio Freakazoid Martinez, but Barrett Yoshida had other plans. He came in like a gangster, like a veteran, and he played a tough game, but he made a mistake, just like the guy before him, and he tried to play leg lock games with Eddie Cummings, and it just don't work. Every man that's tried that has fallen short. Eddie Cummings gets the leg lock submission. There was no surprise there, but it set the crowd into a frenzy. It set all the people at home into a frenzy because we got the finale that we wanted. Gio Freakazoid Martinez and Eddie Wolverine Cummings.
The finals did not disappoint. Eddie Cummings comes out with a vengeance, hunting the legs of Gio Martinez, and boy, was Gio in trouble, but Gio employs a genius defense by hugging his own legs, not allowing Eddie to straighten out and hit the left heel or the right heel, and as the time started to tick away, so did Eddie Cummings' patience. We can see Eddie start to get rattled just a little bit, which is not something you see out of the Danaher Death Squad. We can see Gio gain confidence. We can see Gio's brother Richie screaming instructions from the side. We can hear Gio's coach Eddie Bravo shouting encouragement. We can hear the crowd clapping, chanting, getting behind their man Gio. And as the match went on, Eddie faded and Gio got stronger until we ended up in overtime with Gio Martinez hitting a beautiful armbar after entangling Eddie Cummings for what seemed like an eternity with his arm lock. Eddie was almost out. He thought he was out, and at the last second, Gio Martinez pulled off the arm lock. The crowd went crazy. Now, it's Eddie's chance. He has one final attempt to get the submission on Gio. He has approximately 3.5 minutes on the clock to work. What's Gio gonna do? Is he gonna stay tight? Is he gonna go for a scramble and get the escape? Eddie Cummings picks the back. He's hunting for Gio's neck. We can see the hand fight ensuing. We can see the arm fight ensuing. We can see Eddie trying to hit the beautiful straitjacket that the Danaher Death Squad is known for. But Gio, he defends against it masterfully. Eddie tries to turn it into an arm lock. Gio stands up straight. The crowd goes crazy. Gio pulls both arms out, victorious. Referee Victor Davila signals the end of the match. The crowd goes wild. Richie goes wild. Eddie puts his head down because he knows that he has lost in the first time of EBI history to Gio, the Freakazoid Martinez, the EBI 10 Bantamweight champion.
It should be no surprise that when Gio Freakazoid Martinez gets you in spider control in overtime, you are in big trouble. Eddie Cummings did everything he could. He almost escaped. He was an inch close to escaping, but Gio hits the arm lock, and Eddie, with a look of excruciating pain on his face, is forced to tap out. And then Eddie gets his chance, but really, we all knew that all the energy, all the momentum, everything had been sapped out of Eddie Cummings. There really wasn't much of a chance for Eddie to come back and win this thing at this point. There was no surprise. Gio escapes. Gio goes on to prove that the Danaher Death Squad is not the only team in town, that 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu is here to stay. Gio Martinez, you repped your team strong. You did it right. You got the world title back to 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
This is the Inside BJJ EBI 10 Bantamweight Breakdown. Please check out our podcast on your favorite mobile store. Look for Inside BJJ. You can download us on iTunes. On behalf of Big MF, I'm Tim Freeman, and we will catch you next time.